Talk about timing.
Perfect timing.
That was good. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good.
So you watched that? Was it that Andre Ward documentary? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I guess it was like the Oakland premiere. I guess it hits the TV. I think on Friday. It was pretty good. Just like a couple hours about his whole life, from the gold medal in his childhood to retirement. But yeah, it was a big turnout, like 400 people. It was good.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
I like how when we discuss like the 1% of the 1% of the 1% in industry, like, yeah, he got a gold medal in his life, shit like that. Like, oh, you'd be like one of the most amazing accomplishments a man
World
can have.
champion, gold medal.
Yeah, no doubt.
One of the best boxers of his generation, gold medalist, all that bullshit.
Yeah, he had a good run for sure.
So are you still doing combat sports for the Athletic too then?
No, I haven't been. I'm going to start doing some more. It was weird. We made a run like a couple of years ago. We hired like 5 guys for both boxing and UFC, which kind of make a real run at it, but it didn't work out. So we kind of tabled the whole thing. So now we have nobody, I think. So I'm going to try and do some on the side while I'm not doing football. That's
honestly why I subscribed to the Athletic, was like this whole slew of combat sports writers you brought in. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I know half of them, I know all of them. Like, let's do it. And then they all wiped away. But then I fell in love with the Raiders coverage and the college football coverage. The Athletic college football coverage is awesome.
Vic, I only subscribe for you, man. That's
I appreciate that.
Only reason.
I appreciate you guys. That's good.
So we're just getting into let's finish up with Jimmy G.
Okay.
The whole issue with him signed, still hurt, new contract, addendum, doesn't get paid. I looked at this as like a giant blessing for the Raiders because now they're in like almost a no-lose situation. Instead of just kind of like buying the car and having to sell it used, they get to like keep him for a month, look at him completely, and then if it doesn't work out, they can say move on.
He agrees with me.
Huh. That's a interesting theory. I don't see it
they
that
have
way.
nothing to lose money-wise.
Bro,
can come
now you're adding money-wise. Now you're changing it. Now you're changing it to money-wise.
I said all they lost was time.
Well, they're not going to cut him. Let's take the worst case scenario. Let's say his recovery is slower than they think. He doesn't make training camp. He hasn't passed the physical in whatever it is, mid-August. They're not going to cut him. They're just going to give him a different deal and keep. In my opinion, they're going to keep him on until he's ready to go because they have no other options. I mean, he's it. They don't want to start Brian Hoyer, so there's nobody else on the market you can go get. So he's it. So I think in their minds, yeah, it's unfortunate he needed foot surgery. It's unfortunate he had to redo the contract, but he should be ready by the start of the season. He knows the system. That's a huge edge for him coming in. He knows exactly what Josh McDaniels wants. So I think he'll be ready in time. If not, then maybe he's ready a little later than opening day. But I don't think the worst case scenario is him getting cut.
I think of a lot of other things I can do with those $33 million guaranteed than a quarterback that's probably only going to play 10 games anyway because of injury.
Right, but they're in a weird spot because, are they trying to win? Are they trying to rebuild? They're kind of in the middle, and you can't really sell.
What do you think? Are they trying to win? Because it's like everything they're doing makes me think they're kind of rebuilding, except for signing a $75 million, like guaranteeing $33 million to Jimmy G. That's the only thing that makes me say, oh, yeah, they're trying to win now.
Well, because I think the reason is because they have Davante Adams, they have Max Crosby, they got Josh Jacobs back, probably in the franchise. So you have guys in place who are top 30, top 40 guys in the league. So you can't tell these guys, yeah, we're going to rebuild and we're going to try and be good in a couple of years. Adams will be gone in a couple of years. So you got to at least try. Maybe hit a home run with Jimmy G. Maybe he and Josh connect in a way where Derek Carr, he couldn't connect. Maybe the offense is better than it was last year, and the defense makes a step up with these draft picks. So you got to at least sell the hope and that you're trying, but you're not trying super hard. And they didn't make any aggressive moves this offseason that shows you, yeah, we're trying to compete with the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Chargers in the West. So it's kind of you're taking a stab at it and kind of not really. So you're somewhere in the middle, but clearly they're preaching patience while trying to make an effort. And maybe things work out. Maybe we hit – we get lucky and we can make a run this year.
Yeah, like my opinion is like we're trying to win, but we're trying to win with our offense. Like the defense was so devoid of any talent, really, and just a couple of like 2 or 3 players really that you would want to keep around no matter what, and or even 2. Jesus. So let's rebuild the defense with young players. Let's not overspend like we have in the past and try to get lightning in the bottle and be stuck with all this dead money going forward. And let's try to win with our offense. and didn't work out last year because the offense wasn't as good as what they thought it was going to be. But now they have someone that they feel can run the offense better. And let's just keep building the offense with younger players and build it the right way. And I mean, where Mick Ziegler came from was, they don't spend big money on defense unless it's a game changer, unless they're making you a top 5 defense, right? They're not spending big money on a guy and it's not going to move the needle. So they're looking to build the defense with younger guys and, try to win with their offense.
Yeah, and if that does work out, say you hit a home run and your offense is better, you actually can score a bunch of points. Then ideally you have these pass rushers in Max Crosby, the rookie just drafted, Chandler Jones, who was better towards the end of last year than he was the first month or two. So maybe he's better this year. And those 3 guys can help you with a lead, attack the quarterback, and maybe get some turnover. So that's the ideal scenario. Your offense is better. The pass rush gets home when you have a lead and you cause some trouble late in games and you pull off some wins.
Tom Brady, as a little minority owner, the fun chatter has been like, oh man, he's only 24 votes away from suiting up and playing for the Raiders. Can you imagine? My thing is like, now that you're in the building, right? Is Tom Brady anything more than a mascot there? Is there any other role? Like, is he helping the Raiders on the field in any possible way in this role, other than maybe selling tickets?
I mean, for a normal team, you would say there's no chance. He's solely an owner. But the Raiders are not, we all know, not a normal team. They do crazy shit. And they do all, things go way off script. They do some more weird shit. So I'm not going to say it's impossible Tom Brady's starting the game week 13. I mean, it's not likely, but if Jimmy G gets hurt again, and then you get the owners to approve it, the owners, why would they say no? They like money. They like the product being better than it is league wide. So they're going to say yeah and get them out there. So I don't know what Tom Brady's desire is to ever play again. Only he knows that, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. I know right now it's just chatter. It's there, internet fodder, but knowing the Raiders and knowing what I've seen the last decade, 12, 13 years, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I mean, it's unlikely, but again, it's not a normal team.
Well, you're asking why would they say no? I'm asking why would they say yes?
Yeah, why would they make them better?
Would a single team that they're playing want to vote yes?
I mean, because I don't think they see the Raiders as a threat. One, I think it helps the overall league product if he's back in it. They create ratings and all this stuff. I think he's Mr. NFL. He's the GOAT. So, if they saw the Raiders as a threat to win the whole thing, yeah, they might say no. But no one thinks the Raiders are getting out of the AFC West. No one thinks they're going to make the playoffs. I think so. I don't see this as anything more than a circus act, which maybe some people are like, yeah, I'll watch that. Why not?
Other than this Garoppolo and Brady story, what's the big story out of OTAs right now? What's going on in there that's causing the most stir, biggest headline, biggest story? Is there any?
Not really. I mean, the big minicamp is next week, so we'll see. But you got so many new guys. Guys are kind of feeling their way around. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers today in the article with us said, off-season workouts are really not that impressive or that important. It's kind of just a big – it's kind of a show for coaches to show that they're in charge and they have things structured the right way. So you don't really see a lot this time of year as far as guys making a move on jobs or guys getting better. It's all kind of getting down to fundamentals, make sure you're in shape. With the Raiders, like I mentioned, a lot of new players kind of getting to the mix, kind of developing chemistry on and off the field. So I wouldn't say there's any huge storylines besides the quarterback stuff. And at some point, we'll see if Josh Jacobs signs the franchise tag, and I think he will. But who knows?
Well, let's say, what about a position group that doesn't have a lot of new players and wasn't really addressed? The offensive line. What do you think how it's going to shake out towards training camp and into the season?
Well, it seems like they're saying Brandon Parker is going to be in the mix. I mean, that was kind of the plan last year before he got hurt. So I don't know if he's going to compete with Illuminor at right tackle or if they're going to move Jermaine inside the right guard. I think that's the big hole in their minds is right guard. I'm not sure they want Alex Bars to be the guy there again next year. He's a fine piece, but probably more a depth guy than a guy you want starting for you. So I think of the 5 guys that started last year, he's probably the guy they would like to replace. And I think they're fine with Jermaine Illuminor either at right tackle or at right guard. We'll see how Thayer Munford looks this year, second year. So there's got some guys who want to see how they look. But, they proved last year they're not really they like guys who are versatile. They like guys who have continuity. And I think they think their guys are good enough with their scheme so they kind of get by. They don't need to sign big names or spend a lot of money on that spot if they don't have to.
How much, and has there been any effect on like Devonte Adams' comments that made headlines last week and for like a week or so? He made comments and would come back on the comments and talk again. Did that have any effect on the locker room? Anything jarring from it?
I don't think so. I think that was just, I think Devonte wanted to get things off his chest. He realized they probably didn't sound as great as he thought they did, so he kind of backtracked a little bit. I think, obviously he sees, again, we talked about the roster moves this offseason. There's no reason for him to be excited about the moves they made. They didn't really try to get better that much than the offseason. So I think we'll see how he's feeling, week 5, week 6, and to get kind of a better gauge of where he's at. But I think other players kind of, that makes sense. It's not, he didn't rip anybody. He just kind of said they didn't see eye to eye. And then he said, I get along with him great. So I don't think it's a big deal right now. We'll see maybe going forward in a couple months into the season.
He sounded to me like a guy that, not disgruntled, not going to sit out, not going to cause a stir, but just kind of like, I thought I would have more say, and I thought this would be better. And he just, and I think everyone feels that way, right? I think like all of Raider Nation thought he'd be going into a better situation than he
did. Right. If we look at the timing of the comments, when he said that stuff, we didn't know that Garoppolo had foot surgery. So he knows his quarterback is not going to be a part of the mini camp. He's not going to be, so like that probably adds to his wow, we got a guy who can't play right now. Maybe he might be ready in a couple of months, but so he knew that. We didn't know that at the time. So maybe it helps explain maybe where he was in terms of I don't really see what we're doing here. And maybe, the timing of his comments is interesting that way.
I've heard a lot that the Raiders, they didn't get any better, right? Besides the quarterback position, because we don't know what's going to happen with Garoppolo, do you think they got better?
I do not. I don't think so. I think because the O-line we've talked about is pretty much the same, right? The O-line is pretty much, I don't know if Brandon Parker is anyone's mind a huge upgrade, but he is what he is. And I think you look at the receiving group, Jacoby Myers definitely is a good player, but you lost Darren Waller at tight end, so it's he's more of a receiving guy than a tight end, really. So Renfro, I'm not sure what his role is going to be. So they get better at receiver? Probably not. And defensively, they added a rookie pass rusher, but that wasn't their biggest need. A linebacker, they didn't really address linebacker. Linebacker's kind of a mess. A cornerback, you could say they lost last year's 2 starters. And Rocky Sin didn't have a great year, but he was solid. He wasn't what they wanted, but he wasn't bad. And I don't think you've really upgraded from him so far. So I think defensively, it's hard to say they got better than they were last year.
Who's the second best player on the Raiders defense?
Second best player on the Raiders defense.
It's a depressing question.
It's tough, man.
Am I going to say? I think I might say Chandler Jones.
Say okay.
I'm going to say Chandler Jones. I think and again, he wasn't what everybody wanted the first 6 weeks of the year, whatever 8 weeks it was, but he started to play better. I think he's got the pedigree and he's in great shape. So you hope maybe he can be better this year. But there's no one else that really jumps to mind. And linebackers, I don't see anyone. Defensive backs, Merrick's the question mark. Nate Hobbs is a guy who I like Nate Hobbs, but I'm not sure where his home is. I think he wants to be a slot. They want him to play him outside. I think some of his limitations are evident outside. So, I might say Nate Hobbs, but I'm going to go with Chandler Jones instead.
What do you think contributed to that slow start? Was he injured going in? I know he didn't practice every day during training camp. Like he took days off a lot. Was there something that just wasn't being talked about? I know that the buildings there are tight. They don't really get anything out.
I don't think so. I must have asked him that question. He and I get along pretty well. I asked him all kinds of questions while he was stomping. He was always in pretty good spirits. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know if he wasn't in the best of shape when he came in. I don't know if it was adjustment to the defense, like maybe he wasn't really clear where things should be. But I don't think he was hurt, and I think whatever it was, it clicked for him. After, but like I said, I think it was week 8 or week something.
Yeah, week 9 going on.
So I don't know. And I think like he would tell me back then, if he knew the answer, he would fix it. So he didn't really know why he was, getting the results he wanted either. But he said, getting pressure. He was, in the mix, and he wasn't getting the stats. We thought he was actually making a push even when things looked bad. So you never know. But I don't know the answer. I'm not sure he does either.
Who's the funnest player on the team to talk to? Either like straight up interview, or he's the funniest, or he always gives you inside info. Like who's the dude you're like, oh, nice. I finally got 10 minutes with this dude. I'm going to get something great.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much turnover. I mean, a lot of the guys I really liked are gone. I think Illinois is very funny. He's definitely a guy who, once he gets comfortable with you, you can chat about anything. And it's pretty entertaining. And I have always gotten along pretty well. He can be funny. Nate Hobbs is also can be a funny guy, but it's not one really that I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting somebody. Like in the past, it was Jalen Richard was a guy, was a go-to guy. He's long gone.
Adam Hill said the same thing. He's like, Jalen was the dude that always gave you like, if you want to get the temperature of the locker room, Jalen was always honest.
And Darren Waller was always in a good mood. He was always a guy that's fun to talk to about different things. So he's gone. I mean, so yeah, no one really. I'm trying to think on who's left. I mean, Renfro's pretty straight, cut and dried. Yeah, I mean, it's not much. I mean, I would say probably Jermaine, but at this point, probably is the guy.
All right, RJ asked the fluff question. I'm going to ask a serious question here.
All right, serious question. I'm ready.
Up close. How
Mr.
much
subscribes only to The Athletic for Vic Tafur. It's like, you're really going to nail him here, Soto. Go ahead. Please.
How much up in person, up close, how much does Aiden O'Connell look like Farva from Super Troopers?
Not that much. I mean,
really?
There's certain
depressing.
Well, the certain photos definitely look like it, but he's not chubby. I mean, so that's one thing. So I mean, some of the photos are like that. I mean,
come on,
that's not a great photo of him, but I see it. But up close,
same haircut.
Yeah, you don't see it as much.
You
don't see it quite as much.
ROTC haircut
up close, but it's not. It's there. It's definitely there.
Does he sound or act anything like him?
No.
Damn it.
He's a very clean cut guy, much in the same kind of way Derek Carr was. They're both very religious, both very serious guys, who are kind of driven. So not a guy who's going to make a lot of jokes. I don't think, right? At least as a rookie, while he's getting comfortable, I think he's kind of playing close to the vest.
Now that Denzel Perriman's no longer a Raider, who's the player you do not want to let your girl be around?
Wow, Jimmy G, dude.
Well, this is the thing, though.
Was Denzel
nothing but tens?
Denzel's a threat to the women? I didn't realize that. Interesting.
Well, I just guessed as much because he's just so like charming, good looking dude, buff as hell.
I thought women always thought Darren Waller was super hot. Wasn't he the guy they were all like
him too?
Over? Yeah,
the eyes, bro. It's got to be the eyes.
The eyes, yeah. I mean, Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G is the one who melts everyone. I mean, I just can't think of anybody else.
Okay.
I mean, all these guys are NFL players, so they're all kind of. I wouldn't trust any of them with women, to be honest. But yeah, I think Jimmy G's the king.
Dude, my chick doesn't even like white dudes, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this guy's handsome." And I'm like, "Oh shit, all right."
When you walked in the room for the press conference, even guys were like, "Ooh, that guy! Wow!" I mean, it was like he came in wearing the suit,
nice and tight.
Yeah, straight from the nightclub. He had the little flickers of gray in his hair and a little stubble. Like you were like, "Yeah, he's."
Glitter on his face a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah,
he's a good-looking man when the hair starts going gray and he gets more handsome. You're like, come on, that's supposed to be like a negative. You're supposed to start looking older. We're like, no, he's distinguished. It's Jimmy G.
So what he does is just
get it. Your sexual energy.
He's as advertised. He's definitely he has that down.
Mm-hmm. How hot CD is Josh McDaniels in this season? Is there any scenario where he doesn't make it through season 2? Is it like, no, he's giving him Mark Davis is giving him a super long leash? Where does he stand, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a super long leash. I think Mark's trying to have patience. He knows he's made some mistakes in the past with different hires. I think he wants to make sure he gives this Patriots way, a real long run for his money, a chance to really prove that it can work. I think he's going to give him a lot of leeway. The only way I see where it may turn around at some point is if they lose a lot and the fans get really ugly. Then Mark definitely feels for the fans, definitely listens to the fans, definitely he himself says he's a fan himself, and he was for the most part of his life. So I think if the fans got really ugly and the season really went off the tracks, then maybe. But other than that, I think he's on board for a 2 or 3 year plan. And again, for him, I think for Ziegler and McDaniels, the key this year is the rookies, how they develop, the guys you brought in. They got to show that unlike past draft classes, you have something in place here. You can build from guys who are going to be foundation pieces. And if Mark sees that, I think he can handle whatever the win-loss record is going to be.
Go ahead, Soto.
Oh, I was going to ask, what Defensive tackle. That's one of the areas for me. Defensive tackle and linebacker is like, okay, I don't really see a lot of like kind of star power. A guy that's going to step up and really. I mean, Spillane played well when he took over for Bush when he got hurt last year, but he's got his limitations. Where do you see? How do you see the defensive tackle spot shaking out?
Well, people I respect a lot of scouts and stuff really like Byron Young. I was kind of skeptical of that pick. I thought it was a little too high for a guy who didn't really dominate at Bama. But you watch his tape, you can see he has the traits you want. He can play up and down the line. He's got good strength, good hands. He can move pretty well. So that's the guy they want to come in and make a little bit of a splash. And so he's interesting. I think Bilal Nichols last year didn't do much. But, again, he had some years in the past where he made some plays. So maybe it was just an adjustment, again, to the defense. I'm not sure. But there's some pieces there where I think you can be better on that front line this year.
Is there one game you're looking forward to the most this season? Like, are you going to have to be in Kansas City on Christmas?
No.
Okay.
Man, last year I almost got stuck in Pittsburgh for Christmas. That was not good. So I'm not looking forward to that. But I'm a big Miami guy. I lived there as a youngster when I was 21, 22.
Terrible year to be in Miami. Terrible age.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I love Miami. So to me, that's always a highlight of any schedule I see with that on it. So that's my spot.
Are tickets going to get any cheaper this season?
I mean, it's hard to say because right. I mean, not because the people who are buying them are the opposing team's fans. They all plan their ships.
That's the catch-22.
Yeah. So and then imagine if the Raiders are actually good this year, then there actually will even be more. A value to them, these tickets. But no, I think this is what it is. I think that people buy them to see the other team, and that's going to be the way it is for a while, I think. So I think they won't be any cheaper this year.
The man's name is Vic Tafur. Check out his work at The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter as well, at Vic, V-I-C, Tafur, T-A-F-U-R. And I think Soto was probably subscribing to his OnlyFans as well. So you can ask Soto where to find that stuff.
I like feed pics. What do you want?
I know you do. This is great, Vic. Thanks for coming on.
All right, guys. Take care.
Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.